Up next, we have Frank Bauer, ARIS Executive Director, who will be giving us the 40th anniversary of Hams in Space and the 2024 anniversary event.
It's the 40th anniversary celebration of human spaceflight amateur radio and the impact that we as amateurs have had in human spaceflight, which has been significantly positive. You can see here, in the 40 years since we started this, we've followed the NASA and now the space agencies and ultimately the commercial organizations on human spaceflight, starting with the space shuttle, and then as NASA decided they were going to work with the international community, particularly the Russians, on the space station Mir. We worked with them, and then the International Space Station, which is where we're at today. And as you can see, the patches, starting with the SARX patch, that's the newer SARX patch. There was an older one. And then we actually had flags on the ARIS patch, but decided very quickly that there were too many countries and they kept changing around, so we went with what we have today. So, what does this 40th anniversary mean? And, those that have been around a while, and I'll say I am one of them, I will say I was pretty young at the time. 40 years ago, Owen Garriott on the 9th Space Shuttle mission, STS-9 Columbia, flew the first amateur radio equipment. And we do have in the audience the person that was leading that activity from a hardware perspective, and that, of course, is Lou McFadden, W5DID. Thank you, Lou, for everything you did there. So, when Owen got on the air, we transformed, the amateur radio community transformed how people could talk to astronauts in space. Because before that, the only ones that could talk to astronauts in space were people who were in mission control, and not mission control, but the Capcoms and heads of state. That was it. And when Owen picked up the microphone and started talking with hams, that changed everything. And it's continued for 40 years. That transformational change in communications has allowed us, the amateur radio community, to pioneer a lot of really cool things. The school context Dave talked about, almost 1,600 schools now on space station alone. Other organizations have emulated us. NASA all of a sudden started the downlink capabilities. And so, we basically pioneered that stuff. When we first started, and we were on the shuttle after Owen's flight, we started doing family contacts. It was the first time the crew got to talk to their families on space shuttle. And really, even on Mir and space station, it was their link in the beginning of space station until the IP phone came on board. That was it. And then of course, those that remember us throwing a spacesuit overboard the space station called SuitSat, we pioneered that, as well as the whole aspect of being able to safely deploy vehicles off of space station, which led to the CubeSats being able to be deployed from space station. Our work in the safety area, and I'll say the Russians and the US team working that with, to make that happen, actually transformed that. And then the ARISat-1 being the largest, heaviest spacecraft hand deployed from the space station. So all of these things are pretty pioneering. And, remember that this stuff is an initiative that was led by ARL and AMSAT. This organization was critically involved in actually getting to yes, if you will, on allowing Owen to talk. And once you bridge that chasm, the doors just opened up. Okay, so before I go any further, I do want to go, hopefully this will work. The Wayback Machine, I want to, 40 years ago about this time, the amateur radio community was really in a buzz because this is going to be really cool. We're going to be able to talk to somebody from space. So hopefully this will work.
On orbit day 3, Excitement peaked among hams all over the world.
Who had one of those radios? Not matrix printers. If you even had a printer.
And then amateur radio's Man in Space went on the air.
This is W5LFL in Columbia. W5LFL in Columbia, orbiting the Earth at an altitude of 135 nautical miles. Passing over the U.S. West Coast and calling CQ.
W5LFL on SPS9, WA1JXN, WA1 Japan, X-ray Norway, WA1JXN, Frenchtown, Montana, standing by.
Hello, W1JXN, WA1 Juliet X-ray November. This is W5LFL. You're our first contact from orbit, WA1 Juliet X-ray November. How do you read, over?
It was quite a thrill. I was very surprised when he came back and said that quite clearly that I was the first contact from orbit.
This is WB5LMJ, Whiskey Bravo 5, Lima Mike Juliet in Lawton, Oklahoma, calling the Space Shuttle Columbia.
W5LFL, Whiskey Alpha for Yankee Victor Charlie. WA for Yankee Victor Charlie.
This is KZ-17 calling W5LFL, Kilo Alpha 7, Kilo November, this is calling W5LFL, this is Kilo Alpha 7, KZ-17.
W5LFL, W5LFL, this is W5IU, Whiskey 5, India, uniform.
I had to put that one in. I had to put that part in. So it was pretty amazing. How many of you actually heard Owen in from space? Wow. And so what we want to do is to celebrate this glorious achievement we've done as ham radio operators. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a face-to-face ARIS International Delegate meeting, which is a smaller activity, but then open it up for a full conference and tours at the Kennedy Space Center facility. We'll have a reception. We're going to have exhibitors available, and we'll talk about this. I'll talk through this in the next couple slides. We'll have exhibitors there and have a reception in the exhibitor area. We will have a gala dinner and all kinds of different things we're planning here. Of course, we're going to be inviting astronauts, which is going to be challenging from the perspective of financial, but we're going to be inviting astronauts to come and to participate in this. Now, of course, Owen unfortunately has passed. But we've been in contact with Richard, and we set the dates for this to make sure that Richard could make it. So he's very interested. I'm going to follow up with him this weekend some more on it. But our plan is to have him as well as others there. Our venue will be at the Center for Space Education, I should say, sponsored by the Astronaut Memorial Foundation. It's located on the site of the Visitor Center at the Kennedy Space Center. The venue, you can see at the bottom, is very big. It can handle a lot, and I'll show you in a little bit what we're planning on doing with that. And we'll see how many people show up, how many are interested. The conference center is almost 9,000 square feet. It's huge, and we're going to split it up in half. The person that runs it worked for Disney, and he's a consummate audio-visual person. So he's got everything all set up with really nice visual capabilities and things like that. We're splitting the room in half. Half of it will be for the conference. Half of it will be for the exhibitor. We'll also have food in the exhibitor area, during the day for people, and we'll have places for people to eat lunch while we're having the activities. The other thing I mentioned was the International Delegates Meeting. It's going to be a smaller facility. You're going to see on the website that it'll say invitation only. If people are interested, we can definitely work that. We can expand up to the big facility. It's just a lot more expensive to run that big facility on a daily basis. So right now we can hold about 50 people, but we can, and the Astronaut Memorial Foundation folks are prepared to move us into the bigger facility if it comes to that, okay? So this is what our plans are. The dates, the first 2 days, February 20th and 21st, we're going to have our international delegates meeting. Dave talked about, you know, the last one we had at East Aztec. And then basically what we want to use we want to give people an opportunity to have an experience at the Kennedy Space Center. So we have, as part of, you know, if you register for the delegates meeting or the conference, you get basically a ticket to get into the visitor center and roam the area. And they have all kinds of experiences there. They have a launch experience that Charlie Bolden, you know, by videotape, of course, provides a walkthrough on what it's like to launch from the space shuttle or from a launch vehicle. And then, so that will all be on the 22nd. We're setting that up so people aren't trying to decide what they want to do in the middle of the conferences. We've set a dedicated date for people to go to the visitor center and do the tours. And you can spend all day at the visitor center. And that evening, we're going to have a reception with the exhibitors. We're actually going to, that day, the exhibitors would set up. And then the conference will be on the 23rd and 24th. And what we are doing is on the 23rd, which is a Friday and a Saturday. On the 23rd, we're going to have a gala dinner at at another facility that that the organization runs, which is near Banana Creek, which is one of the launch site areas, and that's where the Saturn V rocket is located, and we'll have dinner under the Saturn V rocket. Okay. So it's pretty exciting. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm not going to go into this, but basically we're setting up our agenda for our ARIS International meeting. I mentioned this, but in more detail for the 22nd, we will, pretty much what we can do here is people can arrive before 9 o'clock and the gates open at 9. Okay, and you all get tickets. Those that register will get tickets. And we'll have breakfast snacks there for you. You can go through the Kennedy Space Center visitor center tours, and then our exhibitors are going to set up, like I said, from 9 to 4, and then at 5 o'clock we'll open up the reception. Okay, and that'll be open to both folks that register for the ARIS International meeting, as well as those that come to the conference. And then the conference itself, we're probably going to. This is still tentative, but our intent is to dedicate day 1 to the space shuttle and the Mir program, and day 2 to ARIS. Okay, and our intent is to. Let me just say a couple things. We are inviting astronauts. I mentioned what we're trying to do is make sure that most of the astronauts we have to pay for their travel. So it's about $2K is where we're thinking we're going to be paying for that. So our intent is to have panel sessions with them. Those that were in the shuttle program would talk on the day 1 activity. Some of them did both, shuttle and space station. Would be day 2 with the space station activities. So we've gotten some of our lists of who we think would be great to have. Like I said, an important person we want to have is Richard Garriott, because Richard not only, it was his dad. For those that aren't aware, Richard and Owen are the first father-son team to actually operate in space. So, and when his dad was up, Richard and his brother were talking to Owen on the ham radio. So he's had experiences on both ends of the microphone, if you will. Okay? So, when I say VIP keynote speakers, those are usually astronauts. But there might be, I can't promise who all's going to attend, but Bob Cabana is he's, you know, number 3 person at NASA. You know, we had when Crew 6 flew, one of our social media person, Jim Reed, asked a question to the panel, because he was there for the launch, about ham radio and the 40th anniversary. And Bob he says, well, I'm a ham radio operator. My call sign is, and he's very proud of it and very proud of things. So we are going to invite him, whether he can make it or not. He's another VIP because he's basically number 3 in NASA. So, and then other, panel sessions of how we got to yes, because that was a challenge. Just being able to fly on a vehicle and transmit independent of mission control is a big deal. And then, our experiences on Shuttle Mir and ISS, our international challenges, and that's an interesting discussion in itself. Once we started to work together as a team, Lou remembers this, and Rosalie and others, the challenges we had doing this. And we've got individuals I know from our various groups that we're going to be bringing in internationally that are interested in being part of that discussion. Then our technical challenges, our technical initiatives, like SUITSAT and ARISAT, and then students that are now in STEM careers. We have, we have individuals that we can cite right now and try to bring them in either in person or through a video, a little video clip on how ARIS, SAREX, and the MIR activities impacted them and in their ability to become whatever they are in a STEM career. So then the educational and the technical challenges and capabilities is what we want to cover. So our gala dinner, would start. We want to get everybody there. Those that come, the buses will start leaving at 6. We want people to be there around 5:30. They will depart. It takes about 15 minutes to get to the Apollo Saturn V Center. You'll go past the vehicle assembly building and things like that. So we'll have dinner. We'll have a bar there, dessert, and then we'll have a program associated with that. Probably more focused with Owen's flight than other things, but there'll be discussions across the board. So. Business casual. Now, we have 6 hotels. Now, the situation is that this is the high season this is the beginning of the high season. And those of you that go to Hamcation and try to find hotels, sometimes we had problems last year. And this is like about a little less than 2 weeks after Hamcation. So we thought it was best to work with multiple hotels to get as many rooms as we could. And this will all be on the website. So, but we've got some really good ones, and we've worked with them. They're all under contract. The venue's under contract. We're all set to go. And the way we've set up the rooms, because I know some people are going to want to double up, if you're traveling with rental cars. 4 of them are in Titusville. We've got them set up as hotels that are right next to each other or close to each other. 2, the Courtyard Marriott and Hyatt Place are right across the causeway from the conference facility. And then we have a couple in Cape Canaveral area, and then a couple others at Titusville near I-95. Okay? And then the other thing I did want to mention is we are looking for sponsors to help this activity. This is a very expensive, the equivalent of a very expensive wedding. It's the best way I can describe it. And so we're trying to keep the prices down. We're stretching ourselves a bit. I will tell you what we're going to be charging now for registration, which includes the ability to get on the go to the visitor center. The visitor center costs are about $70, $80 to go to the visitor center, and then we have lunches. We're buying lunch for you all and everything else for the 2 days of the conference. It'll be $125, and then it'll be $125 for the gala. Okay, we're trying to keep these costs low to get as many people as possible to come, and so and then for the For the international meeting, it's a smaller activity, it's $50 for that. Okay, so if you have companies that would be interested in sponsoring this, you know, you work for a company. I know a number of you are in the aerospace world, or you know, organizations like AMSAT or ARDC or anybody wants to provide sponsorship for this. It'd be great. Individuals that want to sponsor. You see at the bottom there, sponsoring an astronaut. It is going to cost us about at least $2,000 to sponsor an astronaut because of travel costs, and for an international astronaut, it'll be $5,000. So even if we get, you know, $500 from 10 people, we can sponsor an international astronaut. And we're working pretty aggressively to try to work through the individuals and see who wants to come and how many we can bring on. So that's my one plug. What I'll say is that it is not our intent, ARIS's intent, to make money off of this. Our intent is to celebrate this activity, okay? So just so everybody understands that. So in summary, SARX and ARIS have really basically pioneered and transformed communication in human spaceflight. And many of you have been involved in it over the years. Even if it's working out with a school or something like that, that's been instrumental in us being able to keep this program alive. And we've all gone through challenges to keep this program alive on shuttle, on Mir, and on the International Space Station. So we thank you all for that. And you've innovated many firsts. AMSAT was instrumental in the AeroSat and the SuitSat activities, as well as all the hardware developments that went along with this and operations for many, many years. And led between ARL and AMSAT, you led the initiatives. You know, recently, and you heard Dave talk a little bit about the interoperable radio system. More recently, ARDC has been engaged, and the capabilities that Dave talked about have been partially, a significant portion of the funding came from ARDC to make that happen. But I think, you know, we've all made this happen, and it's time for us to celebrate and commemorate this and have some fun. So if you can make it, fantastic. And with that, I'll ask for questions. Yes? And I do have one more thing to announce, too.
Yeah, your slide said astronauts, but are you also inviting any of the cosmonauts like Krikalev?
We are trying to do that. We're also trying to get our Russian colleague to come, Sergei Sambarov, who many of you have met over the years. I'm trying to work that at the highest levels of NASA, because the visa requirements are 9 months for if they can get one, because of the political situation that exists right now. So, but we are trying to do that, and if it comes down to it, we might have to resort to a little bit of virtual activity. Okay? Other questions? That's a good question, because I mean, really, to be honest with you, we wouldn't have been able to turn on the radio 2 weeks after the first crew came on board if it wasn't for the Russians getting us the opportunity for an antenna that we could actually hook up to right away. Yes, Barry.
Any thoughts in terms of having this being online in any respect, either before or during or after the event?
Yeah, we will do that. I'm not talking about it a whole lot. I want to start with, you know, how many people want to come there. Yeah. But the guy that handles all of the audiovisual at the Astronaut Memorial Foundation is a real whiz. And frankly, we did a ARIS contact there back in July. One of the things we do, Dave talked about teaching the teacher, we actually turned the tables and let the teachers talk, and we did it through that facility that we're going to be at. So we know we got good practice with them when we went to the space conference. Other questions? Well, the last thing I have to let you know about, and I'll let Lou's got a question or comment, is that we're going to open the website up, I'm pretty sure on Tuesday. We've checked it out. We did a final test it like you fly activity with it, and I have the ticket now that we put on board, that we put in there and did full registration. So I think it'll work. There might be some quirks at the beginning, but have at it. It will be, thank you for asking that question. It will be on aris.org, and as you know, if you go to aris.org, you'll see a bunch of tabs. You'll see a tab for the 40th anniversary. Okay? So it's we're trying to make it as straightforward and recognize people know ARIS, so go to the ARIS website. If AMSAT wants to set up a link to it, great. That'd be a good idea too. Okay? Luke, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, well, first of all, I'm very proud to have been involved with all this over the years. And this thing is going to happen in February. It's the weekend after the Orlando Hamvention or Hamcation. So you come to Orlando, go to the Hamcation, stay to the next week, and do this. It'll be a lot of fun. And hopefully I can promise warm weather. Not this warm, though.
Thank you, Lou. Anybody else have anything? Okay, well, thank you all.